you imagine what it would take to care for over 3,000 injured and orphaned wild animals every year? Well, that's exactly what they do at the Alabama Wildlife Center, the oldest and largest animal rehabilitation center in the state. Deep in the woods of Oak Mountain State Park, the Wildlife Center has taken over a former restaurant and converted it into an impressive education center, hospital, and nursery for all kinds of creatures. It's come a long way from its humble beginning in 1977, and founder Ann Miller's hopes and dreams for the center have never wavered.
The first facility I had was a spare bedroom, and I had the intensive care cases in one room, and then I needed a flight cage, and it was my very first hawk, and I took all the furniture out of the other room and put sand on the floor and hung perches from the walls. And I actually had a hawk in the spare bedroom flying back and forth for a few months before I wised up and started building outside cages. We really have a needs-driven operation. The little animals come in and we can't say, well, our budget doesn't allow us to take that one today, you know. And we can't charge for what we do because people are not going to pay to bring animals to be rescued. So we just get by hand to mouth, but we have a wonderful facility, and we've designed everything to be open to the public so that they can come and see the animals being cared for through one-way glass windows.
Let's go to the baby bird viewing area first. Here's Kim. Here's our baby bird intern. We've got 3 incubators that are full right now. And once the babies leave the incubator, they go into these laundry baskets that we've provided black fiberglass mesh on the inside to keep them from getting their heads or their wings caught in there. And we've got pine straws substrate on the bottom. And this just gives them a little more room to grow in, and they only stay in these baskets for 3 or 4 days.
These little guys are very close to being fledglings. You can see they have a lot of their feather development. This is our busiest time because it's baby season. The baby mammals start first in February and March. We'll get baby squirrels and possums and chipmunks and rabbits. And then that leads us into bird season, which starts in April. And then from April through September, we'll have baby birds. These birds, the story was that the nest was built on a woman's porch, and she knew that the mother had hit a window, and she went outside and found the mother dead. And that's another reason that we take animals in, injuries and orphans. And so we knew that this entire nest were orphans, and so the lady was able to bring them in all the way from Talladega, which was quite a ride. And she brought them in with the nest intact. And we do feed them every 30 minutes. So we have to make sure that we're just giving them enough to last that time, and then they'll be hungry again in another half an hour. Robin, birds have different diets. Some specifically eat insects or insectivores, and some are seed eaters or omnivores, and so we try to make sure that they get a diet that they would get in nature. When I do that, that's just sort of to stimulate him to see if he'll open his mouth. But he's letting me know he's had enough now. So it's time for him to go back into the incubator. We see a lot of cat attack victims and dog attacks. And sometimes we see birds that have just been picked up because people thought something was wrong with them and didn't realize that they just needed to be left alone. So most people don't realize when baby birds develop most of their feathers, they actually hop out of the nest. They'll start to exercise and perch. And when I say hop out, they sort of fly and hop out at the same time. But the parents stay with them and keep feeding them while they're on the ground learning to fly. But people will see those birds and think that maybe something's wrong with them because they're not good at flying. They'll see them taking off and then just going for a short space. And so they'll take them thinking that they need help when actually they don't need to be rescued.
The birds and animals that do need help count on the many volunteers at the Wildlife Center. Between round-the-clock feedings and cleaning up, there's always something to keep the volunteers hopping.
It's very exciting. I enjoyed it. Quite rewarding to feed someone that's hungry.
This is the solarium area, and in this enclosure we have, I believe, 6 nuthatches that were brought into us. They are so sweet. They have wonderful personalities, and I love the little noises that they make, their little calls. They're quite active little birds, and they're little characters. They're a lot of fun to watch. They're very entertaining. This is our mammal nursery in here. We've got, right now we've got several sets of Virginia possums. We've got a set of flying squirrels on the end. We've got some cottontail bunnies right here. And Carrie is in there getting ready to feed them. Most of these animals that we have here right now are in the weaning process or have already been weaned. But I think this is the last set that we've got that are still hand feeding.
I'll kind of lap it up like a cat. I think this guy's just about done. But afterwards, we just wipe their face off really good.
It's not just what they eat, but how they are eating that preoccupies the staff at the Wildlife Center. Feeding the young great horned owls in the raptor wing requires a willingness to handle rodents while wearing a complete disguise.
This is actually a ghillie suit. It's patterned after the sniper outfits that the United States military uses. And actually this was bought from a hunter's catalog. So apparently bow hunters like to use this thing. Since these owls are being raised without the benefit of their parents, we don't want them to get used to humans, because that would put them in harm's way when they are released. So we want to break up the human form as much as possible from head to toe. Everything needs to be covered up, so that to the owls, I am a shrub. And that's it. It's the whole thing. We are feeding solid mice, which of course in nature, eventually they'll have to learn to kill their own prey, but we're still taking care of them. So we want them to get used to the dead food.
Part of wildlife rehabilitation is finding ways to keep the human element out. With babies, if they're exposed to humans, baby mammals actually still have a clear sense of their own identity, but if they're tame, they cannot be released because they're going to get into trouble. They're going to either become nuisance animals or they're going to come up entrustingly and somebody's going to think they're being attacked. With birds, it's even more serious, especially the large birds, because they form their sense of identity once their eyes have opened. And for about 2 or 3 weeks after that, if they're exposed to humans rather than their own species, their sense of identity is going to be that they are humans, and they will try to breed with humans, which is not something that the average member of the public wants to have happen.
Bird Bang, big stuff. Right around the corner, I can get one of the best hamburgers in town, and also some of the best political debates. The Carter Sun and the Jimmy Carter Library are undoubtedly my favorite places of all. This is my Atlanta. Go out and explore yours.
Tonight on Turner South at 8 Eastern.
No doubt about it. Obie's is better.
Okay, well, let me get you to fill out that finder's form, and we'll get him back in the exam room. Please. Yeah. Got a mourning dove with a ruptured crop from the fire department.
Every day at the Wildlife Center brings new challenges. The sound of a doorbell at the animal registration desk means a new patient has arrived. The staff is trained to examine for injuries and then keep the animals comfortable until one of their volunteer vets can tend to them.
Do they know how it happened?
There's a fireman that brought it in. He came in the bay door. The little mourning dove came in the bay door, and they tried to give him water, and you could tell the water was running out of his crop. So that's all. That's all.
His wings and legs work, and he has a good attitude, but I don't know how long the wound has been here. There are seeds coming out.
Is he real thin?
No, not too bad. Well, he's getting there. Yeah, he's losing weight.
He's a young one, right?
Yeah, he's fairly young.
Maybe Atlas with suture in that?
Yeah. He's breathing okay. I cannot see any ruptured air sacs, and he's not otherwise wounded. He's really alive, very feisty. So what we're going to do
is we're going to put them in a dark box so you can calm down. And we're going to put them in Hall C. It's an area where it's really nice and warm. And I'll have to talk with Ann about what to do next and if we can treat it. We have had previous mourning doves that had ruptured air sacs, and they were sutured up by one of our volunteer vets. So that was it can be done. Hi. Hi. Thank you for bringing the mourning dove in.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Could you tell me a couple more details about how you found them, where you found them, what might have happened?
Sure.
Okay.
It was back in the fire truck in. I was back in. When I got out, I seen this little dove run in. I seen it look like it was a little bit lame, the way it was kind of bowed up a little bit when it was walking, running kind of. And I noticed that, you know, doves usually don't get that close to people.
Yeah.
So I think what happened is it's a young bird, and I think what happened is a cat might have got a hold of it or something.
Yeah.
Punctured it, or a little kind of tender-hearted, that little dove.
Yeah, he's so cute. Yes. Let me ask you to fill this form out.
Go ahead. And you give me back, sir.
I'll give you back the box.
So that I can get you some more animals.
What is this? This is a double intake.
Bunny?
A bunny and a wren.
Okay.
This is a little wren. It looks like a fledgling. And I can tell that from the tail feathers. The feathers are just emerging from the sheaths. He has a really hard time breathing. I do not see any extensive injuries. I'm really curious to see what the story is, how the lady found this little guy. Can you tell me where the bird was found?
The cat brought it in the house.
The cat brought it in, okay.
The rabbit we found in the backyard. I didn't realize that rabbits are actually make a lot of noise when they got cornered by the cat.
So the cat brought the rabbit as well?
No, we just chased the rabbit and catch it. My husband caught it in the backyard.
So there was nothing wrong with the rabbit?
Not a thing is wrong with that.
Well, can I ask you why you brought him here if there was nothing wrong with him?
Because he's tiny, and the cat was chasing it.
Well, actually, that little bunny is old enough to be on his own. They're on their own after 14 days.
Well, my husband called you, and if I turned him loose, cats would sure get him.
Well, you know, have you ever thought about keeping your cats inside?
For how long?
For permanently.
No, I haven't thought about it. Well, both cats, I have two cats, and they are, every morning they go out and they go on the deck, they go in the yard, and they play outside. And they're very young, they're both year-old, so for them, it's a new adventure altogether. Would the little bird survive?
They generally don't survive cat attacks. That was a perfect example of cat attacks. This woman just brought in a fledgling Carolina wren and a baby cottontail rabbit. Although she said the rabbit had not been attacked by the cat, the little rabbit's nose was bleeding actually when we got it in the exam room. We found that out, and that was probably a result of being chased around the yard. Unfortunately, what people don't realize is that cats really do live healthier, longer lives when they're kept indoors, and that it is a very conservative estimate that house cats kill an estimated 4 million songbirds a day just in the continental United States. And these birds are facing all kinds of problems already, so this is just one more thing that adds to their decline out there. In fact, that's the #1 problem we see here is cat attacks.
With a makeshift nest.
Back in the exam room, this orphan barred owl is being prepared for his release back to the wild. He's too young and inexperienced to be completely on his own, but the perfect age to learn wild ways from adult owls. Ann Miller has found suitable barred owl parents to adopt this young one. The first step is to place him on a high branch near the pair of nesting adults. Then Ann will use her innovative technique to encourage the adults to come care for him.
This is a typical brancher barred owl. They get to this point where they're too restless to stay in the nest, and it's part of their development. They have to get out and start moving around, getting their coordination, building up their muscles, and So they hang around in the branches, which is why they're called branches. They can't fly. They're very restless, so they're constantly moving, which means they fall a lot, and that's why we get so many at this age. The parents will follow them around and feed them, so they don't have to be in the nest anymore.
Hey, Ann, I hear the parents.
The plan is to play a recording of a baby barred owl crying out for food. If all goes well, the parents will fly in to claim this young owl as part of their family.
This is a game caller, and it's used in hunting, I believe. I haven't used it that way myself, but you use it to call up game. So it's the same principle. And there's a CD in here, and we've made a digital recording of a baby barred owl. The recording you'll hear is the baby just food begging. It's a food begging call. Last year we just used a boom box, and it was pretty crude. And this year, thanks to the grant from the Southern Company, we're using a very nice tape recorder with a little remote microphone. It just raises the success rate.
In a matter of minutes, the mother owl responds by flying to another branch on the same tree.
So awesome. I'm so excited. The parents are hooting right here. Well, once the mother flew in, I felt like, okay, bingo, we've succeeded. And because knowing what I do about owl behavior, this baby is going to get cared for. He's sitting right there. He's happy. I noticed that he's hunkered down very comfortably, and he's got kind of some leafy cover to protect him. And the mother's just right up there. As soon as we leave, probably 5 minutes later, she's going to be over there. I used to sit for hours waiting for the mother to show up, and it's just great the way this works.